about books, readings, and speaking. How are you today?
Very, very good. Glad to be here.
So let's talk about STEM. And when we look at specifically STEM and how important it is to be in the classroom, what are we seeing in 2024 with the rise of AI and the rise of technology? How important is that we need to be teaching our kids STEM and really have a great STEM programs in our schools?
I mean, it's more important than ever. I was at the Pennsylvania State Technology Conference last month, or actually earlier this month. Since we're still in February, and AI is a huge, huge subject. Using it correctly is and appropriately, and to make it work for students in a positive way was the biggest part of the discussion, and we're going to have to figure out as we go. What used to be the state technology is really almost state STEM, because at least in Pennsylvania and many other states, they've finally adopted state standards that are specifically about STEM and tied in with science mostly. So, of course, initiatives from the Biden administration and even the two administrations before have focused tremendously on this area.
And now I guess so STEM really kind of expanded with AI, and now teachers have to learn to teach AI, and they haven't learned it yet, right?
Well,
Especially because it
it's
changes every second.
yeah, no, it's going to take a while. I mean, I've seen great things that AI can do because you can individualize so quickly and so easily, but to teach students how to do it and actually integrate it in the class is not something that's going to happen overnight.
Well, I mean, it's amazing. You could literally take, I don't know what work they're going to have to do about certain things. If you took portions without the child's name and had it like an IEP, you could take the entire IEP, throw it into Google Bard or Gemini or the other, and it would create specially designed instruction much better for them. I mean, but just make sure the name is not there. You create the
Yeah,
whole thing and
yeah.
put something together. I could take pages of websites and do the same thing. I mean, the ability to implement STEM and individualized instruction and education is far more available than ever. Khan Academy has made it free, but they're really making it free for everybody in the fact that they're allowing it to be AI driven now. So instruction for the student is pretty much AI driven. I mean, we're really seeing some changes.
It's still going to take time to work in schools because curriculums are not based around that part of it, and you're still teaching kids how to think. So we don't want them to feel that AI can ever replace thinking skills and
Right. And I'm
problem
hoping that it
solving
could,
skills.
and that's where you're
Hopefully, it'll
seeing.
work together at some point. We definitely are not at that. I don't think at that point yet. You can't plug into AI how to solve food insecurity, which is probably the number one STEM topic. Well, definitely in the inner city, probably only in the country. Where I am in Philadelphia, it's a gigantic issue, tremendous issue. This was again talked about much at the conference. Now it can help with strategies, but uh, there's so much that goes into the problems that we have. So, we wish there was something you could snap your fingers or go on AI to solve them. We still need to have students work hands-on to solve problems. That won't change.
I think the lesson plans, the ability to implement STEM as a regular ed teacher by pulling from that information is very, very important. Okay, let's go to your reading at schools. Tell us about that, and what's happening with
Yeah,
that.
next week is Read Across America, which is a very big day. And for my books are very related to Black history and women's history because we have role models in my role model in my first book, Dr. Gladys West, and the second book. I don't have it finalized that I can speak about it yet, but it'll be a Latina in STEM. So it's a huge issue about having role models that meet all student interests and that help students from underrepresented populations that may never have thought, oh, wow, I can do this too. that they have proper role models. It's a big part of the research as to why we're so underrepresented in minorities and women, female students, and students with disabilities and other underrepresented populations. So that's a key, and that's very important as of right now. And Read Across America, I am going to be involved in that and reading my book and trying to show the role models that are out there. That also so timed well with um, Black History Month and Women's History Month. So I'm excited about that. So I'll be in a few schools.
So think about the schools you're going to be in and people watching, especially on your LinkedIn Live right now as we're broadcasting live, to talk to them specifically about the importance of bringing in someone like yourself to read to students about STEM and especially about your first book.
Yeah, sure. I got to teach STEM probably when it started to become a thing in education a little over 10 years ago, 12, 13 years ago. 14 in 2010 is really when I started teaching coding, especially using something called Scratch, which is probably the most, along with a few others, the most popular used out in education. And I was very fortunate to get a lot of training and teach so much. And now I get to supervise student teachers and see where STEM is in the schools in Philadelphia and the suburbs and how they're implementing it and how teachers are using it in many classrooms. So that's a neat thing.
Oh, it's definitely a neat thing for sure. And then you also talked about speaking as well to schools and I mean, and to admin and stuff. What's happening there going out?
Yeah, well, it's interesting trying to break into the field because there's mostly the STEM folks that are doing speaking are big name people or people that are in the STEM fields, not that many educators other than college educators, because there's not that many folks out there that maybe were like me that taught just recently in public schools or private schools and are now going into that. Most of the people that are doing the STEM speaking are working maybe in the administration or intermediate units, they call them in Pennsylvania, or agencies that provide training, but not the teachers themselves doing it as much. So that's where I'm headed.
Awesome. It's such great stuff for sure. Best place to go and people can check you out is go where?
At chrisgoldbergbooks.com and on social media, Dr. Chris Goldberg.
All right. You're listening and watching the Neil Hill